This paint color is Mysterious. Ooh. I feel like it would have been a lot spookier if it was nighttime. But my videos have been looking a bit dark recently, so I'm trying to switch it up. Welcome back to another episode of Color Code, the YouTube series where we talk about a paint color, break it down, and give you tons of color options that can go alongside it, including a wonderful trim color choice. So why is it called Color Code, you ask? Because every single paint color name has an associated color code, and today is one by Benjamin Moore called AF565, aka Mysterious. Hit that like button if you like spooky paint names, because I know I do. So Mysterious is a color that does a pretty good job at explaining itself well, at the same time has one of the most ambiguous names I've come across for a paint color. What we can say for sure is it's a very dark color, which is kind of mysterious. And the way we know this is by looking at it and checking out its LRV number, or its light reflectance value. The lower the number is, the closer it is to absolute black. And Mysterious comes in at 6.81. This means that it reflects less than 7% of the light that hits it, which is not a lot of light. The undertone itself is rooted in a deep, dark blue color, and you can very well say it's a pretty true navy blue in terms of undertones, but I think it's so dark that in certain cases, you might mistake it for a black or a charcoal gray at the very least. Of the navy blues that exist in paint, they tend to teeter-totter from the slightly greenish teal side of things or the slightly red-purple side of things. Mysterious to me has a very subtle purple, but mainly it's just a shaded blue at its core. Later on in the video, I'll also talk about some other famous navy blue paint colors and how they relate to Mysterious. But for this color specifically, I see it being equated to the same color you would see in very dark denim, the kind of denim that has never been washed. Undertones in general can be a pretty finicky thing, so if you want to make sure you have a firm grasp about how blue or maybe a bit purple this color will look in your space, the best way to figure that out is just to test it out. Grab a tester, put it on a mighty board so you can see Mysterious in the room you plan on using it in, and you don't even need to muck up your walls in the process. I'll make sure to leave their information down below if you're interested. Mysterious is really cool because it's part of the affinity line of Benjamin Moore colors. I love them. I love any color that has an AF at the beginning of its color code. If you don't know, Benjamin Moore, the paint company, has a bunch of different collections of curated colors, some of which are a mixture of old and new colors. But when the Affinity Color Collection was released alongside Benjamin Moore's newer Aura paint line, these colors were brand spanking new, and they were designed to sit alongside one another, even though the variety in the collection is pretty significant. So you have this wonderful harmonious relationship with all of these beautiful color swatches. This, of course, leads me into the next section of this video, the color pairing section of Color Code, where I'll give you some color pairing options of varying levels of depth and saturation. And if you're enjoying this video so far, consider subscribing so you can keep up to date with all of our painting and decorating related content. Right out the gate, we're gonna start with a light color pairing for Mysterious. If you're starting with a super mega deep, nearly off black blue color, it may be at least worth considering something lighter and warmer to balance things out. The color I wanna go with first is called Ancient Oak, color code 940, and it is a soft, neutral beige tone that completes the quintessential pairing of navy blue and beige. I find this pairing to be really effective because you end up with both the light and the dark and the cool and the warm aspects tugging at either side. But at the same time, there's still somewhat of a neutral aspect with both colors. Ancient Oak, no question, it's a straight up neutral color. But even Mysterious, although being extremely dark and saturated with colorant, it won't feel overly vibrant like the Benjamin Moore color called Blue, 2066-10. You can see the difference. Blue has more apparent blue. Mysterious just sits in the background a little bit. Comparatively speaking, Mysterious is much closer to slate gray, even though it does have that blue in the background. Ancient Oak, as a paired color, works because it's a beige that is pretty true to itself, but if anything, it can sometimes show bits of green in the undertones, even though I wouldn't call it a greenage per se. It doesn't get that prestigious title. It has just enough of that feel to it, which can accentuate the dusty purple deep undertone in Mysterious, which is one of my favorite aspects of the color. Now, even though this is the lightest of the 3 paired colors, I wouldn't say Ancient Oak would be my first choice as a trim or a baseboard color with Mysterious. That we'll be talking about a bit later on. For the mid-tone paired color, we're taking a little step into the other direction, where we have a mid-tone neutral that perhaps relies a little bit more on the red side of things versus green. And it's another color from the Affinity color collection called Pensive. AF140. For a mid-tone, Pensive is fairly dark with an LRV of around 41, but compared to Mysterious, it definitely feels like the lighter color in comparison. This means that if you're using them in adjacent rooms, or especially in the same room, then by proximity, Pensive will feel a bit warmer and more of a settled and comfortable color compared to Mysterious, which should either feel really dramatic or prestigious. But ultimately, it does come down to how you present any of these colors. That will really affect the vibe that they'll give off. I really enjoy Pensive and Mysterious because it is an iteration of that blue-beige combination, but Pensive does feel closer to tan or taupe and also has that bit of subtle rosiness or a red undertone. And that to me helps it feel a little more grounded overall. Even though there's a lot of difference between the two, those undertones help them feel a little more coordinated rather than complementary or opposites. For the 3rd paired color, we're going dark, and we're already talking about a dark color to begin with, so I wanted to pick something quite different from Mysterious just to give you some added variety. Unless you're really into just all dark colors, you probably don't want to use both of these colors with equal weighting. You might want to have one that's a secondary color and then the other be more of a tertiary accent color. The paired color I'm talking about is called Palace Arms Red, and it is a beautiful, deep, regal burgundy red from the Williamsburg paint color collection, also by Benjamin Moore. A lot of these colors reflect historically accurate, vibrant colors that are rich with pigment and represent historic color palettes used throughout the 18th century. Palace Arms Red has an LRV of 7.3, and that's very deep, nearly as dark as Mysterious. But what I love about this color, and that whole collection in general, is the timelessness of it. It seems like such a fun color, but it's one that you won't really see going out of style. And that doesn't just go for exterior usage either, which is mainly what the Williamsburg collection was intended for. I like the idea of taking this classic color and bringing it inside, using it in different creative ways to add a really cool reinterpretation of it. I'm just thinking of a Palace Arms Red dresser in front of a Mysterious wall, for example. I think they'll really play off each other well. We're now at the trim color section of the video. If you're using Mysterious on your walls, what would be a suitable choice for your baseboards? I've always been a fan of doubling down with your mega dark wall colors and continuing something like Mysterious onto your baseboards and even onto your doors and frames. It just sort of adds some continuity and means you're not going to break things up with harsh white lines on the trim. Just to clarify, you would use the same color on both walls and trim, but not the same paint exactly. Typically, you would go flatter on the walls in most cases and a bit shinier on the trim so you have that added durability. I made a video all about paint finishes and sheens, which I can leave at the end of this video for some more information. But let's say you wanted an off-white color, which is more of a standard in most cases. I would probably stick within the AF color line here and go with something like Steam, which is slowly becoming one of my favorite colors to use on trim. It's clean, soft, not overly vibrant and bright, yet it has that modern edge of not feeling overly creamy or yellow. Like I mentioned earlier, AF colors were designed to work with one another, so it's usually a good idea to stick within that catalog, at least to start. Now, before I leave you all, I know there are going to be some people that are curious about the comparable Benjamin Moore blues that are out there. So you have Hail Navy and Gentleman's Gray being the two most popular. Well, it's interesting because Gentleman's Gray is technically the darker color in this circumstance, but it doesn't always seem that way because it doesn't have that same dusty shaded quality that Mysterious has. Gentleman's Gray is more blue forward, and if anything, it has a touch more of a teal feel in the deep undertones, but not by much. Pale Navy, on the other hand, has a lot of similarities to Mysterious. There's only a 0.5 difference between the two in LRV. And I would even say that Pale Navy has just a smidge more blue within it. If you think Mysterious is a color for you, and now you just gotta decide what finish you should use, I'll leave my latest paint sheen guide right over here that you can check out.